My name is Alba. I am 31 years old. I work at Mercy Hospital, Washington. I am a nurse. I take care of sick people. I work during the day. Sometimes I work at night. My job is not easy, but I like it. I help people, and that makes me happy. 1 year ago, I had no boyfriend. I lived alone in a small flat. After work, I often went to see my mother. She lives in a village near the city. She is old and needs help. I cleaned her house. I brought her food. We drank tea together and talked. My life was quiet. I had no big problems, but I felt alone. Then something changed. A new doctor came to our hospital. His name was Michael. He was 29 years old. He was tall and strong. He had brown hair and blue eyes. He smiled all the time. Everyone at the hospital liked him. The nurses talked about him every day. They said he was kind and good-looking. I saw him too, but I did not think he would talk to me. I am not slim. I do not wear makeup. I do not wear nice clothes. I keep my hair simple. I work hard. That is my life. I thought someone like him would not look at someone like me, but he did. One morning, he said hello to me. I said hello back. The next day, he smiled at me again. He asked, "How are you?" I said, "I am fine. Thank you." He smiled more and said, "Have a good day." I was surprised, but I smiled too. After that, he talked to me every day. He asked questions about my life. He said nice things to me. One day he brought me coffee. He said, "You work hard. You need this." I felt happy inside, but I did not show it. I just said, "Thank you." One night, I worked late. My bus was not coming. Michael came out of the hospital. He saw me and said, "Do you need a ride?" I said, "Yes, thank you." I got into his car. It was clean and quiet. We talked about work and family. I told him about my mother. He told me about his city life. I liked talking to him. After that night, he often gave me a ride. Sometimes he brought me tea. Sometimes we sat together in the lunchroom. He made me laugh. I waited for him every day. I felt happy when I saw him. I started to like him more and more. One weekend, he asked me, "Do you want to go to a movie?" I said yes. We went to a cinema near the hospital. After the movie, we walked in the park. It was a cold night, but I felt warm inside. He looked at me with soft eyes. He listened when I spoke. I felt special. That night at home, I looked in the mirror. I saw my round face and short hair, but I smiled. Maybe he liked me too. A few days later, he asked me to sit with him in the hospital cafe. He looked serious, and I asked, "Is something wrong?" He said, "I need to tell you something." I said, "Okay." Then he said, "I am married." I felt the air go out of my body. My face felt hot. My hands felt cold. I said nothing. He looked at me and said, "Please let me explain." He told me he had a wife. Her name was Laura. They had no children. He said he was not happy in his marriage. He said, "We are not close. We live in the same house, but we are not together in our hearts. I looked at my hands. I said nothing. He said, I like being with you. You are kind. You listen. I can be myself when I talk to you. I did not know what to say. I felt sad, but also angry. Why did he not tell me before? Why did he bring me coffee? Why did he smile at me like that? That night I could not sleep. I turned in bed. I looked at the wall. I thought about Michael. I liked him, but I did not want to be part of a lie. I did not want to hurt someone else. The next day I saw him at work. He smiled. I smiled back, but it was not the same. I felt tired. I felt confused. He looked happy, but I was not. Later that week, I went to a big supermarket. I wanted to buy fruit and bread. I walked between the aisles. I heard a voice. It was Michael. I turned my head. He was there, with a woman. She had long hair and wore nice clothes. She looked like a model. She was laughing. Michael was laughing too. They looked happy together. I knew it was his wife. I froze. I could not move. I looked at them. My heart was slow and heavy. My arms felt weak. I turned and left the store. I walked fast. I wanted to cry. At home, I sat on the floor. I held my knees. I closed my eyes. Why did he do this? Why did he come close to me if he was already with someone? I felt small. I felt like nothing. I was just a nurse. I was just someone in the background of his life. That night I made tea, but did not drink it. I looked out the window. I saw cars and lights, but my mind was far away. I thought about Laura. She was beautiful. She looked happy. Michael smiled at her like he smiled at me. What was I to him? I went to work the next morning. I saw Michael again. He smiled and said, "Hi." I said, "Hi," but my voice was soft. Later that day, I walked up to him. I said, "We need to talk." He looked surprised. "What's wrong?" he asked. I looked into his eyes and said, "I saw you at the store with your wife." His smile slowly faded. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. Michael looked at me. His smile was gone. He did not say anything. I looked down. I felt my heart beat fast. I said, "You looked happy with her." My voice was quiet. Michael said, "Alba, I can explain." I looked at him again. I said, "Please don't. I already know what I saw." He said, "Yes, we looked happy, but we are not. I do not feel love for her. I feel lost in my own home. But when I talk to you, I feel alive." I did not answer. I just stood there. I wanted to believe him, but I could still see them in the store, smiling, laughing. That picture was in my mind. It would not go away. He stepped closer and said, "Please listen. I did not plan this. I did not plan to like you. But I do, I said. You are married. That is the truth. He looked sad. Yes, but I am not happy in that marriage, he said again. I asked, Then why are you still in it? He looked down. It's hard to leave. There is a lot to think about. I said nothing more. I turned and walked away. That evening I sat in my kitchen. I made tea. I did not drink it. I just held the cup. My thoughts were heavy. I liked Michael. I liked his smile, his laugh, his voice. I liked how he listened to me, but he belonged to someone else. I was not part of his real life. I was just something on the side. I called my best friend Sarah. She said, You sound tired. I said, I am. She asked, Is this about the doctor? I said yes. I told her everything. She listened. Then she said, You do not need this pain. You are not second place. You are not someone's secret. You deserve more. I felt tears in my eyes. I said, But I like him so much. She said, I know, but you must also like yourself. Her words stayed with me all night. I thought about them while I lay in bed. I looked at the ceiling. I touched my chest. It hurt, but I knew she was right. I needed to decide what I wanted. The next day, Michael came to find me. He said, Can we talk? I said, Not now. I need time. He looked sad but said, Okay. I understand. For the next few days, I did my work and went home. I did not wait for coffee. I did not sit in the lunchroom with him. I stayed quiet. My heart needed space. But it was not easy. I missed his voice. I missed his car rides. I missed laughing with him. My chest felt empty. I was quiet at work. I did not speak to many people. I just did my job. I was not angry. I was just sad. One evening, Michael called me. I did not answer. He sent a message. Please talk to me, it said. I waited one day, then two. On the third day, I said yes. I told him we could meet at the small park near the hospital. We sat on a bench under a tree. It was late afternoon. The sun was low. The wind was soft. He looked nervous. I looked at the ground. I care about you, he said. I think about you all the time. I said, But you are not free. He said, I know, but my heart feels something for you. That is true. I looked at him. Do you love your wife? I asked. He looked away. I don't know, he said. I don't feel love, but I also don't want to hurt her. I said, Then you must choose. You can't be with both of us. I cannot be the other woman. He was quiet. He said, I understand. I never wanted to hurt you. I said, But you did. And you also hurt her. He looked at me and said, What should I do? I said, You must decide what kind of man you want to be. He looked down again. You are right, he said. I stood up. I looked at him. I said, I like you, but I like myself too, and I will not be someone's secret. He said, please wait for me. Let me fix things. I said, no. You must fix them for yourself. Not for me. He stood up too. He said, will you be okay? I said, yes. It will take time, but I will be okay. He looked like he wanted to hug me, but he didn't. I turned and walked away. That night, I cried. I held my pillow and cried into it. I felt pain, but I also felt strong. I had made the right choice. I did not feel proud. I did not feel brave. I just felt honest. I had loved someone who did not belong to me. The next days were quiet. I went to work and came home. Michael did not call me again. I did not wait for him. I thought about him, but less each day. I remembered what Sarah said. You must also like yourself. One weekend, I went to visit my mother. She made tea and gave me cookies. She looked at my face and said, you are quiet. I smiled and said, just thinking. She said, you are strong. You have always been strong. I smiled again. I did not speak, but inside, I knew she was right. Back at the hospital, I worked in the children's unit. One child gave me a flower. Another drew me a picture. I smiled for real. I remembered why I loved my job. I was there to help. I was there to give care and kindness. That was my place. One afternoon, I walked past Michael in the hallway. He looked at me. I looked at him. We did not stop. We did not talk. But I saw something in his eyes. He was not the same, and neither was I. Later, Sarah and I met for coffee. She looked at me and said, you look better. I said, I feel better. She smiled. I knew you would. You have a good heart. You just forgot for a while. I said, it still hurts, but I am learning. She said, that's all we can do. We learn. That night, I sat in my flat. I read a book. I made tea. I looked out the window and saw the streetlights. The world was quiet, and so was I. But for the first time in weeks, I did not feel alone. Weeks passed. I stopped waiting for messages. I stopped looking for his face in the hallway. Work became normal again. I started talking more with the nurses. I laughed a little more each day. The pain was still there, but it was quiet now. One day, I helped a patient in the emergency room. She was an old woman. Her hands were cold. Her eyes were full of fear. I held her hand. I said, you are safe now. She looked at me and said, thank you. That moment stayed with me. It reminded me why I became a nurse. Later that week, I took a walk after work. The sun was low in the sky. The streets were quiet. I walked past shops and trees. I thought about many things. I thought about the movie night with Michael. I thought about our talks in the car, but I also thought about his wife, her smile, her beauty, her place in his life. I knew I was not angry anymore. I had loved someone who was not mine. I did not know the truth in the beginning, but when I learned it, I stepped back. That choice gave me peace. One Saturday, I visited my mother again. She made soup. We sat in the kitchen. She said, "You look calm now." I said, "I feel calm." She smiled and said, "Pain makes us strong, but peace keeps us going." Her words felt warm in my heart. At the hospital, I was moved to a different floor. I now worked in the recovery unit. I met new people. I had new tasks. It helped me think less about the past. It gave me something new to focus on. One afternoon, I was checking charts in the hallway. A young man came in. He looked lost. He said, "Excuse me, can you help me?" I looked up and smiled. "Yes, who are you looking for?" He said his mother was in our hospital. I walked with him to her room. On the way, we talked a little. His name was Daniel. He was 32. He lived in another city and worked as a teacher. He came to visit his mother once a month. He said, "She is strong, but she hides her pain." I said, "Mothers are like that." He smiled and nodded. Over the next few days, Daniel came often. He brought flowers for his mother. He always said hello to me. We talked more. We talked about books, music, and family. His voice was soft. His words were kind. One day he said, "Can I bring you coffee?" I smiled. "Okay," I said. He brought 2 cups the next morning. We sat near the window. We talked for half an hour. I felt relaxed. I did not feel nervous like I did with Michael. I felt safe. After his mother left the hospital, he came one last time. He said goodbye to the staff. Then he looked at me. He said, "It was nice meeting you." I said, "You too." He smiled. "Can I see you again?" I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "Yes, I think I'd like that." We met for coffee the next Sunday. Then we met again the next weekend. We took a walk in the park. We talked for hours. I told him I was not ready for love. He said, "That's okay. We can just talk." And we did. For many weeks, we just talked. No big promises. No sweet lies. Just simple truth. One night I told him about Michael. I told him I was hurt. I told him I felt used. He listened. Then he said, "You did the right thing. You chose to respect yourself." I felt tears in my eyes. I said, "It was hard." He said, "The right thing is often hard." I started to smile more after that. I read more books. I watched funny shows. I called Sarah and laughed with her. My world felt full again. Daniel and I stayed in touch. We talked often. We shared stories. We helped each other with small things. He told me about his work. I told him about the hospital. One day he said, "You are strong, Alba." I said, "I don't always feel strong." He said, "But you are. You walk through pain and still give light to others." Those words stayed in my heart. 3 months later, Daniel moved to a school closer to my city. He said, "I want to be near my mother." and near you." I smiled. I did not feel scared. I felt ready. We started to see each other more. Slowly, carefully, we became close. Not fast, not loud, just quiet steps. Honest steps. One day, he brought me flowers. Not big ones, just small yellow ones. He said, "These are happy flowers." I said, "They are beautiful." He said, "Like your smile." And this time, I believed it. I believed him. Michael never came back. I don't know what happened to his marriage, but I stopped asking. His chapter in my story was over. I still think about the girl I was before, the one who waited for texts, the one who smiled at coffee and forgot her worth. I still love her. She was kind. She just didn't see her light. Now I do. And I thank her for walking away. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.